It's a scandal that's been simmering for 15 years within Australia's largest police force. And today, the conflict between two of its most senior leaders was laid bare at a public inquiry. Between 1999 and 2001, New South Wales Police obtained Supreme Court warrants to spy on over 100 of their own officers, including commanders and respected detectives. But in some cases, the evidence those warrants relied on was either false or missing. The Internal Affairs investigation was led by current Deputy Commissioner Kath Byrne. Today, one of the officers targeted, Nick Caldis, who's now a rival Deputy Commissioner, has given explosive evidence at a parliamentary inquiry accusing those running the investigation of illegal conduct. And he describes successive governments and government agencies of being involved in cover-ups and witch hunts worthy of the McCarthy era. Sean Rubenstein Dunlop reports, and a warning, this story contains coarse language.
It's the year 2000 and police are in the midst of an extraordinary operation. Undercover police are hiding a listening device in an inner Sydney office. These officers have been given vast new powers and they're using them to spy on their own. The office they're in belongs to one of Australia's most senior policemen, then New South Wales homicide boss, Nick Caldis.
Every aspect of my life was invaded. My phone calls, my work, my private life, despite no real accusation being levelled at me. I have not done anything that would justify this level of intense, intrusive targeting.
They were dumped in a river, hoping to be sunk to the bottom. I'd suggest that the intention...
Nick Caldis was a rising star and detective superintendent, but to the investigators spying on him, his code name was Guido. According to an internal briefing note, he was suspected to have been involved in or have knowledge of police corruption.
My appearance here is the culmination of over a decade of angst, of me complaining about misconduct and suffering reprisals and discrimination.
Nick Caldis has been fighting behind the scenes to expose the bugging operation called Mascot Florida. Today, he used a parliamentary inquiry to make explosive allegations that he was set up by his rivals in the force.
What we have is evidence of improper and probably illegal behaviour by Mascot Florida, judges being misled, a comprehensive cover-up or at least a blind eye being provided by those who are supposed to keep us honest, followed by, at best, a protracted and misdirected investigation.
This story of secret surveillance begins with a crooked fellow detective working undercover for the Police Internal Affairs Unit and the New South Wales Crime Commission.
Their key source, their key informant, was codenamed M5. He was an admittedly corrupt police officer, and they actually removed him from a mental health facility to involve him as an undercover operative in their investigations.
The policeman, codenamed M5, seen here on the right in a Sydney park, was sent out to snare other cops with a taste for bribes and dirty money.
I just popped in. Give me a present, that's all.
Yeah, no worries.
I'll just...
Beautiful, mate. Yeah, mate. Silly, mate, really.
Yeah, mate, you can take that. No, mate, no, I'll give them on.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Lovely, mate. So he's happy with that, yeah?
In secret recordings, M5 helped catch cops stealing money and tampering with evidence in what became the biggest police corruption investigation since the Wood Royal Commission.
Right, there's 1,500 for that.
Police from the Special Crime and Internal Affairs Unit, or SCIA, had warrants to secretly record M5's conversation with an unprecedented number of people. More than 100 former and serving police, including Nick Caldis.
1, 2, 3, 4, 500, mate, it's yours. Right.
Journalist Neil Mercer helped expose deficiencies in the listening device warrants.
The warrants were obtained from judges of the New South Wales Supreme Court. In some cases, there was evidence that New South Wales police were corrupt, but in many cases, there was no evidence put before those judges that justified the granting of a listening device. Just no evidence at all.
M5's supervising officer was Kath Byrne, who's now also a Deputy Commissioner, and today she revealed she'd had suspicions Nick Caldus had been involved in or had knowledge of corruption.
They're very, very serious allegations to make against Mr Caldus.
They're very serious allegations to make against anyone.
What basis did you have to include that in a briefing that you gave to your commander?
Well, I did have a reasonable suspicion. I do have a reasonable belief. I don't believe it's something I should necessarily be saying in public.
M5, to my knowledge, did not actually nominate me as being corrupt at any stage, nor that he had any actual knowledge or evidence of me being corrupt. Further, subsequently, he claimed to have been used improperly, that he knew he was being used to even up personal scores on behalf of SCIA personnel. Material documenting... For more than a decade and a half, this matter has been the subject of secret inquiry after secret inquiry after secret inquiry. The original police investigation was secret. Reviews by the Inspector of the Police Integrity Commission have been secret. The most current Police Integrity Commission inspector has done a further secret report, and now it is the subject of an ongoing 2-year secret review by the Ombudsman.
I swear that the evidence now about to be given by me.
The stakes are high in this inquiry. Deputy Commissioner Kath Byrne is seen as Nick Caldus' main competitor to become the next New South Wales Police Commissioner.
I trust that in this process I can set the record straight on matters which have harmed my reputation over a number of years.
Today, she acknowledged police had obtained warrants to spy on him and some of his colleagues without the appropriate evidence.
It's clear a mistake was made. There is no doubt at least a mistake was made. And I have said if a mistake was made, that was not my mistake. And in fact, I had warned people about correctness and quality of affidavits. So if a mistake was made, if there was false representations and illegalities, I was not aware of it.
Well, do you agree with my proposition that I'm advancing now to you, which is that's a very serious matter? Your task force, of which you were a member,
yes,
sought a warrant against one officer, asking a judge to approve that warrant with no evidence provided to the court against that officer.
Yes, in that particular affidavit, yes.
That's disgraceful, isn't it?
It's serious.
And
yes.
It's shocking, isn't it?
Yes, it's serious.
But she denies she directed anyone to falsify evidence or prepare illegal warrants.
If it is suggested that there has been a cover-up of the activities of the Special Crime Unit in relation to the applications and warrants, I deny absolutely that I have done so. I left the Special Crime Unit in 2002 and have been obliged by statute not to disclose information about the activities of that unit since.
The New South Wales Police Force is now in open crisis. Next week, Commissioner Andrew Scipione will be questioned about what he did with complaints about the scandal when he led the Internal Affairs Unit. Some of the police who were bugged want an independent inquiry, but for them, the damage has already been done.
When Mascot, Florida was occurring, there was at least one suicide of a distinguished officer and a number of attempted suicides of good police officers who simply could not cope with the unfairness of what was happening to them. My own experience and the unfairness of what I'm going through has been among the worst days of my life. The impact on my family and loved ones makes it even worse and has been horrendous. I call on this committee, I call on this Parliament and this government to finally air the truth and right the wrongs. Nothing less will restore confidence in our system. If I may finish with a biblical saying that evil prospers when good men choose to do nothing. This committee and this room is full of good people. We're in your hands. Thank you.
Sean Rubenstein, Dunlop reporting.